What up guys, Joachim here, and in this video we're going to talk a little bit about this article that came out. It was posted to Handwritings on the Wall, which is a blog, and it was written by Lawrence B. Willer, who was a previous Anglican priest and a convert to the Orthodox Church. And he wrote this article. It's titled "The New Heresy," and it's referring to the bishops and to the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. So I have many, friends. My godparents are Greek and are from the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, and most of the icons that I post or that you see when I do the videos at my house are from actually, my friend, my godmother, who is Greek. So she's part of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, but there are issues there, and these issues can come up in any diocese. So this isn't something against Greeks, of course. I love Greeks, and I love the Greek language, the Greek people, particularly the Greek people that are actually in Greece. But whatever the case may be, this isn't something to pick on them. It's just the current bishops seem to constantly be getting into some of these issues that I think are major issues and concerns for the Orthodox Church. So I'm going to kind of look at the article, and then I'll read through some of it, and then we'll talk about it. It's not a very long article. It's just a couple paragraphs, but it begins, "The Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, under the yoke of which many American Orthodox groan, is guilty of a new heresy." So that's a big accusation, a new heresy, which can be expressed in two parts. The most recent heresy is what one might call religious Covidism. In my tentative definition for our Orthodox content, religious Covidism is the unspoken contention that preservation of one's physical health supersedes the need for one's spiritual healing. So I think this kind of goes back to when we go to church, when Orthodox Christians at least go to church, we partake in the Eucharist for the healing of soul and body. That's what we say in some of our creedal statements and some of our prayers. We say that we take this for the healing of soul and body. That's in one of those communion prayers that we say in the church. I think that one's by St. John Chrysostom. So when we elevate our fear or our concern for our physical health above that of our spiritual, our soul and body, then in our belief that the Eucharist does actually do those things, then we do in a way kind of create a idol out of our physical health, out of our physical well-being. And I think the harsh thing about that is that I believe that the Eucharist and church in general does provide some protection against disease. Although that's not to say I don't believe that you can't contract disease in church. At least I think one of our monasteries, not far from where I live, and when I say not far, I mean, less than 8 hours away. Not like that it's next door to my house, but one of our Orthodox monasteries, I know some of the monks have actually gotten sick from visitors and people who came to visit the monastery and from just being around each other. So I'm not saying that you can't get sick because you go to church or anything like that. I'm just saying that, I don't want to degrade or say anything that would also be against the partaking of the Eucharist and the spiritual life either. So I don't know what the balance there is or how we're meant to interpret that. But two things can be true at once. You can get sick while going to church, but you can also believe that going to church, leading a lifestyle of worship and putting your concern for your spiritual well-being on a higher, degree of concern than that of your physical well-being, both of those things are accurate. Hopefully I said that correctly. Sometimes I go back and listen to these videos and I realize I didn't explain something as well as I thought I had in my mind, at least, but we'll continue on in the article. And it says, after a year and a half of an epidemic whose severity has been blown way out of proportion to the actual threat to public health, the hierarchs have made it clear that their devotion to the sacramental life of the Church, as handed down by tradition, is only secondary to a fastidious prevention of even the slightest threat of contagion by the novel coronavirus. For a time last year, they even shut down the parishes entirely, Even when they allowed them to open up, they demanded that each parish follow the strictest of all metropolitan or municipal restrictions. Inconvenient obstacles were put in the way of regular participation in the Divine Liturgy by parish councils, who obediently followed all of the guidelines imposed. Access was severely limited to the life-giving sacraments of confession and absolution, and to the medicine of immortality, which is the Eucharist. Initiation into the faith by way of the rites of baptism and chrismation were long delayed. Weddings were rescheduled. By putting up these roadblocks to the mysteries, our hierarchs tacitly indicated that their loyalty to the mandates of the local magistrate trumped their faithfulness to sacred tradition. My real suspicion is that the hierarchs were afraid of being sued for liability if anyone blamed the local parish when we got sick. To be sarcastic, you might say, who needs a bishop when you have a mayor to protect you? So I think in this aspect, when he says to be sarcastic and he makes this point, he's basically saying that the bishops themselves are just deferring to whatever the mayor says. And the bishops themselves in this way are acting more like politicians than like bishops of the church. So I think that he's right, that is a concern. Without so much as stating it outright, the hierarchs have guided our church from the standpoint of a truly worldly mentality. These two correlating statements are, I would posit, the new heresy of the Greek Orthodox Church. And to be fair, I don't think this is entirely just the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. This goes outside of that. But as if the longer-standing heresies and schisms to which I have heretofore spoken were not already enough for us to deal with, now we have this new heresy. Wonderful. Sadly, some other Orthodox jurisdictions are not exempt from guilt. Okay, so he goes into that. So it is not just Go Arch's fault. Only time will tell whether the hierarchs' draconian measures have actually saved more lives than they have ruined. Since COVID-19 has a recovery rate of nearly 100% for most people, I seriously doubt it. Too many parishioners have stopped coming to services. There have been too many suicides and cases of depression, too many bankrupted retailers and stressed families to think that the bishop's reflexive actions have done more good than harm. If we think like true Orthodox, heirs of the Church, of the countless martyrs who paid for their salvation by sacrificing their lives before ancient magistrates, then we can only be dubious of our present leadership's wisdom. May God grant them the humility to repent, although I am not going to hold my breath until they do. May God forgive us all for our mutual responsibility for their present offices. So I think to call this a heresy, I think that gets into some nuances of what actual a heresy is. I agree with his point that it's not good when we elevate our concern for our physical well-being above that of our spiritual well-being. So our first and primary concern should be for our spiritual well-being, for the life of the church, for the life of the Orthodox faith, for life in the Orthodox faith and pursuit of Christ and the mysteries of the church. This should trump all of our physical concerns. And that's not to say that I don't think physical concerns are worthwhile. I work in healthcare. I am a personal trainer outside of my job in healthcare. So like, it's not that I don't think that. I do actually think that our physical well-being should be of some concern and that we should take care of ourselves. I just think that our spiritual well-being should trump and be of more significance to us than our physical well-being. So, you know, that's all something to consider. There was something in this that reminded me of some of the prayers that we say. I don't have it. He mentions here heirs of the church, of the countless martyrs who paid for our salvation. So I know in my prayer book, and this is a very common prayer that you see in most Orthodox Christian prayer books, there's a section that says, the blood of your martyr, your church, clothed in purple and fine linen with the blood of your martyrs cries out to you through them. And I think that prayer exemplifies like our continuity, our tradition of being the church of the martyrs, that those who paved, like, and I think the beautiful thing, I always want to tell my kids about this when I see it, but by the time we get to the end of the prayer and then we read some Astases from the Psalms, and we kind of move on, I've forgotten about it, but it says your church clothed as in purple and fine linen with the blood of your martyrs cries out to you through them. And obviously blood is red, it's not purple. And so when we say that prayer, we're saying that it is royalty. So our royal robes, his kingdom, the royalty of his robes is clothed in the blood of those martyrs. Those martyrs have created this royal priesthood that we inherit, that we get to be a part of, not by virtue of our own deeds or anything that we've done, but by virtue of those men and women who laid down their lives and accepted martyrdom rather than to deny the faith, rather than to deny Christ, whether to accept anything short of the Orthodox Christian faith, the true faith of the apostles. And I think once you begin to think like that, once you begin to maybe not identify with, because most of us are not martyrs. And in fact, if you're watching this video, you're not a martyr because you're still alive. But most of us are not in danger of being martyrs. We're not even facing anything like that. But once you start to kind of see yourself as being a part of that, and many of us we lead very easy lives, very comfortable lives. We're never going to face anything like that, and we really shouldn't degrade the faith of those martyrs by trying to say that we identify with them. So I don't want to come off in that way either. But there's an aspect of looking at those people and seeing that the church that you're a part of, the faith that you hold, was laid down by them, that their blood paved the way for us who are here today. And I think once you start to see that really helps out in pursuing the spiritual life through prayer and through viewing your spiritual life, your spiritual health in a higher degree than you would your physical health. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the article. I'll put a link to it in the description box below. You guys take it easy, and I'll talk to you in a video coming very soon.